The popular phrase, "a picture is worth 1,000 words," is a relatively recent expression. But the idea that images can be an effective complement to or a substitute for text is probably as old as writing itself. When the term visualization is used today, it's usually referred as a method for contextualizing data, enable people to apply their prior experience, conceptual and cognitive abilities to draw conclusions about phenomena in the real world. One of the classic data visualizations was produced by French engineer Charles Miller. In his card figurative, Miller uses casualty data to illustrate the fate of Napoleon discharges 1812 campaign. You can trace the trip site by following the tan line from the army starting point at 4,200 men strong at the left, through a series of losses over time as the soldiers marched towards Moscow. The black line indicates their retreat, and there is a dramatic loss of 22,000 lives over the Berezila River. It is strikingly apparent that the dark line levels almost by half. Along the bottom of the graphic, the temperature drops to 30 degrees below zero as the army make their way back to Kharkov with only 10,000 men. Miller's achievement here is expertly illustrating a multivariant time-space story in a concise display. This graphic depicts 6 different dimensions: latitude, longitude, directions of movement, time, temperature, and the size of the troop. It is regarded as the best statistical graphic ever drawn. Data visualization in newspaper wasn't common until technical advance later in the 19th century. But even as far back as the 1840s, newspapers were examining with it. The Tribune of 1849 published on its front page a line chart checking the deaths in New York City from the cholera epidemic that summer. At that time, a bigger obstacle than the production difficulties were the Tribune's readers themselves. It is unlikely that everyday New Yorkers in the 1840s would have been familiar with statistical graphs. Therefore, the New York Daily Tribune writer wrote a 30-word annotation underneath the chart to teach readers how to read a line chart. The annotation doesn't just describe the information the chart is conveying, but guides the reader on how to read a line chart. For example, the annotation explains the basics such as the coordinates and axis label, coding. Each half inch along the bottom line represents a week, and the days are placed under each. They also explain the slope of the lines represent the change between data points, saying their upward and downward slopes represent whether the depths during these weeks have increased and decreased rapidly or slowly. 5 years later, John Slow made his famous map of the London cholera outbreak around the Broad Street pump. In the 1850s, cholera was believed to spread by bad air, but Dr. Slow believed it was a waterborne disease. During a serious outbreak in London Soho district in 1854, Slow recorded cholera deaths on a simple map to test his theory, and it becomes obvious that there was cluster around the Broad Street public water pump. The local council was convinced to disable the pump, and the number of new cases sharply declined, confirming Slow's theory. Until today, Slow mappings is widely regarded as a milestone in the study of the geographic distribution of diseases. Although data visualization in news is nothing new, we have seen an explosion in information and tools to help create data visualization in the past decades. The growth of data visualization can largely attribute to 3 factors: the environment, the demand, and the collaboration. First, in the internet and digital era, the explosion of data has brought a complementary need for tools to analyze it. With the Open Government Data Act, the increase of open data helps enrich data visualizations. Second, data-driven journalism is no longer a nice addition to the publisher. It is a necessity. Besides knowing what happened at a certain place at a particular moment in time, readers also want to be able to understand and explore the context behind the moment. Therefore, journalists are finding ways to adapt to the challenge of telling stories with data. There is also a cross-disciplinary collaboration. With experience in charting data, infographic designers are well suited to bring data visualization to journalism. Researchers in visualization are helping by building tools for non-experts. The emergence of new tools makes the process of creating online visualization easier. Specifically, Survey Newsroom has taken important action to make data an important part of their reporting and coverage. In 2009, The Guardian launches DataBlog. The goal of the DataBlog is to share data and visualization to the general public. The Guardian encourages reuse and mashup of their data. Readers can submit apps and visualization that they have created. In 2014, the New York Times launched the Upshot. One of the reasons they are doing this is because of the new opportunity the internet and the spread of digital data have created for journalists. As the world now produces much more data, and personal computer can analyze it so quickly, they dedicate a session for database reporting in the daily news cycle. They want to help readers to better navigate the news using data, graphics, and technology. There are also a growing number of communities among the general public. In less than 5 years, the Reddit data visualization community, Data is Beautiful, hit 10 million subscribers and ranked as the top 38 subreddits based on the number of subscribers. That is a community for people to share and talk about visual representation of data that effectively convey information. Graphic decks, which used to be treated as a subfield outside the work of newsroom, are becoming a core part of the newsroom's operation. Newsrooms and media companies have been actively recruiting people to join the graphic teams. We can check LinkedIn. Those people often have various titles: data journalists, news artists, graphic reporters, data scientists, developers, etc. Although each of these jobs have different focus, they share common job responsibility and requirements. The job description here pretty much shows the workflow and skill set you should have before embarking on the data visualization career. So for job responsibilities, here is the summary. You have to be able to acquire, refine, and analyze data, create innovative cross-platform illustration, animation, and graphic, able to work independently and collaborate with editorial reporter, investigative reporter, web developers, and engagement team to produce visual story and determines the best strategy for increasing reach through data-driven stories. And you also have to be able to develop tools and publishing workflows for the newsroom to standardize the analytic processes. For job requirements, you have to have a vision on how to make data both beautiful and comprehensible. You also need to demonstrate that you are able to use your data analytic and visualization skill to help break big stories or relieve compelling insight that adds to intelligent conversation around the news. You have to understand theories of design for humans. Although newsrooms don't have a restriction on a particular language you have to use to produce graphic, you are expected to be technically savvy on the whole creation process. From data storage to data analytics, design, and development. You have to be technically adept at acquiring, building, refining, and analyzing data. You have to be familiar with database and the current scripting language and technology in data analytics such as Python, R, SQL. You have to be able to put design concept into execution. For example, create interactive graphic using JavaScript, static graphics using Illustrator, mapping using QGIS, and web developing using HTML, CSS. So you get the idea. Besides designing news graphic as expected, you are required to be a full-fledged journalist and work closely with reporters and editors. There's so much to learn, but I can assure you that the skills that you learn are rewarding, even if you work in other industries. In this class, we will think how to think like a data journalist, learn about the result presentation of data, how and why it works, and how to do it the right way. In the end, you will be able to make graphs like the New York Times or the 550 egg, and so you can embed your beautiful interactive charts in your publication, blog posts, and websites.